Hey guys, Thaidi here from Thaidi Flowers. I'm so excited to be welcoming you into my garden. This has been a long time coming. I've never felt that the garden's been quite ready to share just because there's always things that I want to move around, that I want to add. But it's August, there's a lot of things growing, and it's still beautiful amidst the things that need to be done. I'm a California gardener growing in Zone 9B here in the Central Valley, and it's so nice because there's something growing year round. Show you my garden, and we can harvest a few things at the end as well. And there's Sunny, that's my Sunny boy. He's the garden guardian out here. As we make our way in here, you can see to the left I have my cacti collection, and this is my main patio area and where most of my garden is located. I'm gardening in a variety of different ways. I have raised beds, containers. I'm also gardening in ground in certain spots. I just like sneaking in plants wherever I can find a little spot for them. So this is my greenhouse as well, and I have more plants on this side. I'll go ahead and take you guys and get a closer look. The area where I have my greenhouse has to be one of my favorite places in my garden. This greenhouse was made using vintage windows that I found on Facebook Marketplace. We went with a brick floor, and it's honestly so nice to have an area where I can store all my pots, to get my seedlings potted up. And in the cooler spring days, it's nice to get a head start on the season. The frame for this greenhouse was actually a chicken coop. In 2020, we decided that we wanted to get chickens. It didn't work out, unfortunately, and we had to rehome them. But I knew I wanted to do something special with that coop because we all helped, my kids, my husband, and this is what we came up with, and I couldn't love it more. Like I said, I'm an urban gardener, so that means that there's always cars coming through, dogs barking, so hopefully it won't be too bad in this video, but let's get started. So at the beginning of the gardening season, my plan was to have this 10 by 3 bed covered in dahlias, and I did buy a lot of bulbs and they did great, but they started petering out. I think they were at their peak in like mid-June. I really enjoyed them, but I felt like they would have benefited from having some shade cloth up because we had too many days where the temps just got over in the hundreds. So they started to slow down, and I went ahead and I threw some zinnia seeds in here. This one here is one of my favorites. It's a red queen lime zinnia. I believe that's what it's called, but it's just got green tones, red tones. I got a pink one, some orange yellow ones, and then the one down here is a queen. I'll insert the name on the screen because I know it's a violet queen, something like that, but I'll insert the name on the screen. They're just gorgeous. And then I do have some odds and ends. I have some epazote, which is a Mexican herb. I got some kale, some romaine that's going to seed. This year, I really wanted to maximize space, and one of the ways I did that was try growing vertically up this greenhouse. So I decided, why not try to grow something edible? And this here is a Zucchino rampicante or tramontino squash. These fruits can actually be eaten as a summer squash, or if left on the vine, they can be stored as a winter squash. And this season, I decided to grow cherry tomatoes up one of my arch trellis, and I really enjoy growing cherry tomatoes because there's so many fun varieties to grow. And even when my bigger tomatoes start to slow down, these are still producing a lot. And one of my favorite varieties to grow, and I know a lot of people don't like it because of its low acidity, is the yellow pear. But I really enjoy it. It's a mild tomato that goes good on salads, on all sorts of different things. I do have black cherry tomatoes as well, and this is another one that I really enjoy. Under the canopy of these cherry tomatoes, I planted some cilantro. Cilantro does really well with cooler temps, and I'm getting ready to add a lot of fall crops into the garden, which are brassicas, lettuces. Back there, I have my sitting area. I have another container where I threw some different flower seeds. This bed is pretty empty just because I have taken out the round zucchini that I had here. You can see the trellis. I really enjoy growing vertical. It just allows for so much more space to be utilized. Over on these beds, I have a couple of dinosaur kale plants and some sweet potato vines. I was really debating whether or not to grow corn, and I did end up planting some blue hoppy corn this year, so we'll see how that does. This here is a anaconda bean. To see little flowers forming, so I'm hoping that we'll get to try these, but these took so long. They've been months and months in ground. Behind my cherry tomato trellis, I do have some straw flowers. These straw flowers were started from seeds that I got at the Dollar Tree, and they have just kept producing and producing all spring and all season long. I do have some salvia here that came back from last year. I got some basil, different sorts of zinnias. This one just opened up, so pretty. This here is some calendula, and you can see how many yellow pear tomatoes there is on this plant. For some reason, this side is doing much better than the other. I think it might be just getting more afternoon sun. If I turn this way on this garden bed, I've been showing you guys these teddy bear sunflowers, and they're starting to slow down, but they are so pretty. They're so petite, but I love how many blooms you get per plant. And then right back here, I have all sorts of different peppers. I have an Anaheim pepper plant. I need to harvest all these. This is the candy cane peppers. They are really pretty when they mature. They turn a red. This is a gypsy pepper. I have a kale plant. I got some jalapenos down here that are almost ready to harvest. This one here was labeled as a sweet banana pepper, and it's looking more like a poblano pepper. So I don't know what happened there. I'm so surprised that I still have celery in August. This was one that I started from the grocery store. It hasn't bolted yet, so that's exciting. Here I have an elderberry plant that I want to put in ground, a boorish. Up on this trellis, I have some beans. These are Thai soldier beans, which are, look at the pattern on these. Aren't they stunning? They are so pretty. And another one of my favorites that I have growing up this trellis are the Chinese noodle beans. They are just really prolific, and they come in a red shade and a green shade. Honestly, they both taste very similar, but I went ahead and I just planted the green ones today. The green ones this season. One of the things I was really excited to see was this here. These little heart-shaped leaves are Malabar spinach, and what's funny is that this seed started sprouting from another bed, and they were seeds that I planted last year, so they were just hanging out in ground, and they decided to sprout once the weather got warmer. But this is like a succulent type green that can be grown all through summer where temperatures are hot, and usually lettuce will bolt. They also produce berries, which can be used for several different things. Here I have a ground cherry, my first year growing ground cherries, and they are tiny, but they are really delicious. Here, I found one on the, oh, I just popped it out. Over on this bed, I have some peppers growing, as well as my Armenian cucumber. If we get closer, this one here is a Anaheim pepper, and when I came back from Mexico, these were looking really sad, and I went ahead and I fertilized a few times, so it looks like we're gonna get another flush of peppers. These two here are poblano peppers. I have a couple buena mulata peppers and a few starts, tomato and Swiss chard. I have a few habanero peppers that I threw in here. Ideally, you don't want to combine your hot peppers and your mild peppers, but I just had the space and I don't mind a little spice. These here are Mad Hatter peppers, and they have the most unique shape. Kind of look like little UFOs. Back here, I have some basil going to seed. And right back there, I have, I think there's like 3 shishito peppers. Those peppers have the hardest time getting established just because Sunny kept jumping on there when we had fireworks, and they've had to their roots disturbed and everything. So hopefully we get some this season. I had thought previously I had a shishito pepper on the other side, but it wasn't a shishito pepper. It got massive. It was a Marconi pepper, I believe. Here in this pot, I have a serrano pepper, some patio tomatoes, which is just like I believe that's a tomato tumbler. These are black cobra peppers that a friend sent seeds for, lunchbox peppers, which are ready for harvest. And this area over here has gotten hit by spider mites, and that's why the plants are looking a little rough. This was one of the candy cane peppers as well. But I went ahead and I treated them. I'm going to go ahead and harvest the fruit and prune off the leaves, and hopefully they can do another flush of peppers. I do have my sub pod here on my patio area, and these a couple more peppers. I believe this is a jalapeno, and these are another black cobra. Over on this side, I have some variegated basil, and this is supposed to not go to seed. It's not supposed to flower, and it definitely is flowering, so not quite sure what's going on there, but the taste is good. Growing up the trellis, I have some Kajari melons, which are my favorite. We've been harvesting a lot of those. Sunflowers here, which these, I believe that's what they're called, alfalfa butterflies, have been just all over. And the pollinators as well. There's a lot of bees buzzing around. I have some gray zucchini, and I saw a big one that needs to be harvested, so might as well take it now. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Thank you, plant. This gray zucchini, if you need one that just keeps producing, these have produced all season long without stop. So I have 3 plants here. Let me see if there's any more that need to be harvested. Yep, there's one here as well. Thank you, plant. That same bed where I have the zucchini, I have cucamelons, and they are these tiny little fruits that look like watermelons. Can't tell if that's focused or not, but they have a hint of lemon flavor, and taste just like a cucumber, but the kids really enjoy these. Got some marigolds here that I started from seed. Over on this side, I have a rhubarb. First year growing rhubarb, so I'm not too sure what to do with that. So I have to get some recipes for that. I got a pot full of different herbs, thyme, oreganos. This is just a pollinator flower little pot. If I get closer, I have a cucumber plant, which is, she's been pushing out like a cucumber here and there. I think these are marketer cucumbers. They're not doing too great because of the heat. I have an eggplant there. One of the best, my favorite cucumbers is the Armenian cucumber though. Show you what those look like. And this plant is full of Armenian cucumbers. Technically these are melons, but they taste just like a cucumber when they're young, and the plant is producing so many at the moment. I feel like it has to do with these little guys here. Kind Bee Farm sent over some leaf cutter bees for me. These bees don't make any honey, but they're great pollinators, and I feel that's one of the reasons that this plant has so many pollinated cucumbers that we need to harvest. You can see up there, there's so many. Over on that side is where I have my containers. They're actually grow bags. Grow bags are perfect because you can move them around, and the only downside is that they do have to be watered frequently. So if you look closely, I do have a passion fruit. This passion fruit I got last year, so hopefully it'll get established this year, and next year we will have a lot of passion fruit. So in the grow bags, there's a few empty ones that still need to be filled for fall, but I do have some summer stuff still going. There's always something growing, and I don't pull out all my summer stuff to make room for fall. I just kind of weave it in between where there's space. I do have some sweet potatoes, a lot of different varieties of squash. That's a gray one. I believe these are another round of patty pan squash. Back there, there's a bean variety that my mom shared with me. More squash, calendula, some basil. This is a eggplant that is not doing too good. I really enjoy zucchini. As you can see, I have a lot of plants. This one here is a coco cell zucchini. It has a lovely stripe pattern. That one's ready to harvest. And this is what I thought was a shishito pepper. When they're smaller, it looked just like it, but it's a Marconi pepper. So still haven't had any shishito peppers this season, but we're waiting. Not so patiently, but waiting. I have some more basil. This here is one of my favorite summer crops, you can say. It's a roselle hibiscus, and what we want is the pods. So after the flower blooms, it will leave behind a calyx, which can be used to make jellies, agua de Jamaica, tons of different stuff that it can be useful for. My mom shared a little piece of Jerusalem artichoke, and look at this thing. It has just gone so big. I've never had Jerusalem artichoke or tasted, but we'll see how much we can harvest from that. These are some eggplants. It's a round variety of eggplant. They're really tasty. I do enjoy these. This area was a last minute decision. I had some leftover compost that I went ahead and I spread by my side yard. There is a very small walkway now. Added some okra seeds here, and these are in ground and they don't seem to mind. Their plants are thriving. I have some zinnias here as well as some tomatillos. These are full of blooms. I started these kind of late, but they have grown a lot, so hopefully they'll start setting fruit pretty soon. Walking forward from where my tomatillos are at, I have another patch of compost laid down, and you can see how much Bermuda grass I have to deal with. I have to come through here and weed, but this is where I had most of my bigger tomatoes earlier in the season. And now I'm thinking I may just grow some beans or add some more zinnia flowers, something. This is a pink princess winter squash, and look at this jungle, guys. So over here I have a few fruit trees that are smaller and are currently being overtaken by these vines, but it kind of worked out because I haven't had to put any shade cloth for them. They've kind of just been living under the canopy of these vines. These are Blue Hubbard winter squash, and also I have some Burgess Buttercup winter squash. And I was so amazed at how big these grew. And we are going to harvest one. This one here is ready to harvest. We will see how much that one weighs. I'm going to go ahead and harvest one of the Blue Hubbard winter squash. And I know it's ready because it's starting to get on its blue color. And if I poke my fingernail, it doesn't go through. So that's another tip to know if it's ready to harvest. Ways. Gosh, she's beautiful. Thank you, plant. Thank you, thank you. There's another one back here. They're really big. I'm excited. And in this jungle back here, I have an extra Armenian cucumber that I threw back there, and Kajari melon, and it's a bit of a mess. I have that moons and stars watermelon here, and this was just whatever was left over. I just kind of threw over here, and there's a few small trees growing. You can see my fig tree here has a lot of figs. This wheelbarrow needs a refresh. And here's another winter squash. I'm trying to remember the name. I can't think of it. Oh, what was it? Buttercup, I believe. I don't know. I'll check. Yeah, but this is what the pumpkin patch is looking like. A little rough. It's almost time to harvest them. I do have a small avocado tree here, which is perfect because it's getting shaded by the pumpkin vines. Hidden in the vines, I do have a small lemon tree, a small orange tree, and my fig tree back there that I showed you guys. But I did have a peach tree right where that pumpkin vine is that unfortunately got peach rust and I had to remove it. I'm always experimenting in the garden, and I was really pleased with this side yard garden. Although it definitely looked a little wild, it did provide a lot of food for our family. Over on the left side of my garden, I have this beautiful arbor that I found on Facebook Marketplace. It really needed some TLC, and I painted it white, and I really love how it looks. Alongside, I have two rose bushes growing, and this one has beautiful purple blooms, and then the other one has, these are a very bright orange reddish color. Looking back, I should have got the same color, but I think once they intertwine and they grow up here, it'll look beautiful. Let's take a look at these plants that I have in containers. There's a few different blueberry bushes here. This poor guy, I didn't realize that it didn't have drainage holes, so it's kind of suffering, but I think it'll bounce back, hopefully. This is a roselle. This one I planted a little bit later. I have another more mature plant on the other side, but whatever we can get off this will be good. Here I have some strawberries. These are everbearing strawberries, and you can see there's little fruit on it. So that just means that they keep producing all season long. This here is ginger that I'm growing from the grocery store. This is my second time planting ginger, and it's doing really well. So I'm excited for that. I have some more strawberries, mint, and then there's some sweet potato slips that I stuck in there, but they're down there. Here alongside the greenhouse, I have, this is a butterfly pea, and it has these beautiful blooms. Passing the arbor is where I have some of my fruit trees. I have a plum tree, and I have I don't know if it's a tangerine or mandarin tree because it was here when we moved in, but it's currently putting on fruit. It has a lot of fruit set that it will ripen later. Back here, I do have some passion fruit growing. This passion fruit is edible, but it's mainly for the fritillary butterflies because it doesn't taste great. I do have another passion fruit growing on the other side, which that one is delicious. I have some herbs here, some rosemary, some calendula that reseeded. This guava tree has been in ground for several years now and it has not produced any fruit. The leaves are useful. We use them for stomach aches, nausea, but I may just have to replace them. I already gave him an ultimatum and he didn't put any fruit. So it's always hard to remove things, remove plants, but I mean, I could have another tree there. So I really want to have this space for perennials. And I did get started, but a lot of them didn't make it through the summer when I left on vacation. So my hope is to get all this area nice and green. I would like to have more vines growing up there. And then I have some of my bigger cacti. I've when I planted this guy, it was so small. They've grown so much. They've probably been in ground for a good 3 years already. There's a lot of spider webs. Just ignore the spider webs. This is my asparagus patch, which is hopefully it gets established and pretty soon we can harvest some asparagus. You can see this little guy here. And if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I've been trying to grow a chayote for what seems like forever. But be impressed, guys. I'm going to show you. Where is my chayote plant, you ask? Oh, goodness. Look at that little thing. So here's the thing. Every year, chayote it grows a decent size. This year was the most it's grown. You can see I made this intricate design. Not really, guys. I just used zip ties, but it made it all the way over here. You can see the tendrils, what's left of my chayote plant. But suddenly it started getting fungal disease on the leaves, and I decided, well, I'm gonna prune it. I'm just gonna chop off the end, and maybe it'll, shoot out new growth. Nope. And I think that's been the problem last year as well, that I pruned it back, and it just dies after that. So if you guys have any suggestions on chayote, I will gladly take them. So this is my side yard from the back. I have a lot of succulents on this side and different types of plants, cacti, and a few, like this one is a palm, but mostly cacti and succulent as well. I think one of the beautiful things about the garden is that it teaches us to let go perfectionism. There's always things that are thriving and not thriving. There's always room to grow, things to be changed, but there's still beauty and there's still growth happening all around us. I wanted to share with you guys how much food we were able to harvest. It's definitely a blessing to be able to grow all this food, even in an urban backyard. So if you're gardening in an urban setting, don't get discouraged. We can still grow a lot of food. It's enough to share with family and friends. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in the garden today, and I hope to see you in the next video.